Hey everybody, welcome back to Kima's Kitchen. Sorry it's been a minute. I have been a little bit distracted with probably some nonsense, and I apologize for that. I need to focus on what's really important, which is, this is part of it actually. Anyway, so here we are. We're going to make some very short episodes around knife skills. So we're going to get back to real basics, right? All the way from the beginning, what knives to choose, even though I do have a knives episode video that you should check out because it will tell you which knives you need to prioritize in your kitchen, which ones you can probably do without if you have a set, etc. But I'm gonna just give you a quick summary now, and then we're gonna get into how to hold a knife and how to use the knife very safely and correctly, the different types of knives we have. And then we're gonna do multiple sort of short episodes on how to chop up an onion, carrots, maybe a pepper. I'll do one of each of those in its own separate video. So, because I know, you know, we all have the attention span of rats and we can only barely hold it for about 5 minutes. So I'm gonna try and keep this as short as possible to see if we can progress through these quickly. Now, if you see my eyes going that way, it's because I have a TV in the background and Canada's playing Switzerland in the last group game. And I need Canada to win because I want to see them advance. So if you see my eyes kind of darting, it's probably because I'm trying to keep tabs on the score and the place. But anyway, let's focus. Okay, so quick summary. Let's talk about knives. I'm going to summarize what I had in the earlier episode, the earlier video. The most important knife you need in your kitchen, if you only have one, make it a good one. But if you only have one, it's a chef's knife. Okay, this is an 8-inch blade chef's knife. You can go 10, you can go 12. 12 is too big, even for me, because the longer you go, the thicker this part of the blade is going to be in order for it to be balanced, right? So I've used 12-inch knives before, actually in the cooking school in Seattle that I took lessons with Chef Bridget. But I find that 8 and the 10 work better for me, personally. I don't have the largest hands. Unlike some people who claim to have largest hands, I don't have the largest hands. So I want something that I can comfortably use and not get tired using for a long time, okay? Especially if you use it correctly. If you use it correctly, you'll see. It's, you know, it's comfortable, but it's not comfortable at the same time. So I go 8-inch, you can go 10. I wouldn't go 12 unless you're 6'5" with hands twice as big as mine, okay? All right, the second most important knife that I find in the kitchen actually is a paring knife, and it's this little guy here, right? You use these knives for small carvings. Say you want to cut the root off of a pepper. This one's nice to kind of get in there and, you know, do it. You can do it with this guy, but he's a little awkward and he's pretty big. This one is nice for those delicate sort of cuts that, this will be useful for, okay? Third most important knife, I think, if you're going to do a lot of this, is a deboning knife. So this, you can debone fish, chicken, what have you. If you notice, it's got a weird sort of curved blade. I don't know if you can see this. You can see this. It's got a weird sort of curved blade that allows you to sort of get in there, sort of in and around the bones to carve the meat off the bones, okay? So I find this one very useful. It is extremely sharp, so be very careful with this guy. Not necessary, but a serrated knife is good for breads. Okay, I use this actually quite often because we buy loaves of bread and they're nice and crusty and you want to get through it without a whole lot of trouble. A serrated knife is really only used for breads and it's good for that. The fifth and least most important knife is it's not a steak knife, it's a carving knife, right? So this is what you would use to carve if you want to carve steaks, if you want to carve chicken off after it's cooked, what have you, mostly for steaks actually. Honestly, if you look at it between these two, I can carve steaks with this. Pretty simple. I can cut steaks with this. Just as easy as I can with this. I don't use this hardly at all. I only use it if this guy's dirty and I don't feel like washing him. I don't use this. So put this one, you don't need him. Absolutely, 100%, you need a good chef's knife. Second most important is a paring knife. If you're gonna debone, whether raw or cooked, a deboning knife, and then the bread knife if you like to, okay? So those are your knives. Now, let's talk about how to hold a knife. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pause the video. I'm gonna zoom in so you can see what I'm doing here, and I'm gonna come back along. All right, so give me one moment, please. Okay, we're back. Now, how do you hold a knife? This is going to be universal across all the knives that we have. You're going to hold them, you're going to hold the knife in exactly the same way. Okay, so let's talk about how to hold a chef's knife, because that's really the most important thing. So if you notice, all right, you've got your handle, you've got your blade, and you've got this piece here. So what you want to do is, let's see if I can make sure. Take your thumb and forefinger, you drop them right here, right by where the blade hits the handle, right? That way, you see how you can just hold it this way? And then drop your hand through. Drop your hand through, right? So now, if you could see this, can you see this? Yeah. So basically, I am holding the blade just like this, okay? There we go. Can you see it now? So you've got it right up against your knuckle, right? Your knuckle's over here. I know you can't see it, right there. So you've got the top of the blade right up against your knuckle, and you've got your thumb going all the way down, and you've got your forefinger going all the way down, right? So then wrap your hand around, and then curl your forefinger over, and you can keep your thumb like that, right? So the idea is that if you hold it correctly, you are gonna get a callus right here. In fact, you could probably see mine. This was from yesterday. I had a callus here because I was cutting up my dog's food, and yes, we cook, you know, normal food for the dog, but I had a callus right here. So this is what you want to have. You want to develop a callus, and the callus is not going to be developed if you've got sort of this part of the end part of your forefinger up on the handle. You need it to be up on the actual blade, okay? If it's up on the handle, it's too far back, right? You need it to be up on the blade, and you need to basically grab the blade by the end of it, by both your thumb and your forefinger, right? So this is how you're going to hold it. Why? Because you're going to be cutting with this section of the blade. You're really never going to use this section of the blade unless you're sort of, you know, maybe doing some really fine sort of, you know, maybe some just little fine cuts. But for the most part, 95% of the time, you're going to be using this part of the blade. Okay? So that's how you hold this knife. So once again, right? Pinch it right here. Drop your hand and curl it over. Okay? So now you've got this part of your finger right here on the edge of the blade, and it's if you hold it correctly right there, you're going to start to feel after a while that it's gonna hurt a little bit, right? And you're gonna develop this little callus. That's just how it is, okay? This is how you wanna do it. I don't ever wanna see you guys do this with a knife, okay? You have no freaking leverage, you have no control over this knife when you hold it like this with your thumb out. This is child's play, okay? This is amateur hour. This is not how professionals hold the knives safely in the kitchen where they're using this knife for 8 hours a day. Okay? You will hurt yourself if you do this, and you have no control over it. Okay? So this is the best way to control the knife as you're using it, and you're going to get used to it. I promise. You just need to work at it. I promise you're going to get used to it. Okay? All right. Same thing with a paring knife. You're going to hold it the exact same way. Now, maybe you're not going to go curl it all the way over, right? Because it's a little bit too small of a knife, but you're going to do the same thing. Sort of use your thumb and your forefinger, and sort of, you know, that's how you're going to use it again, right? Again, it's all about control so that the knife doesn't get away from you, and it's about safety, okay? Same thing with our boning knife, right? You're gonna hold it the same way, maybe not at the tip, right? Maybe not over here at the end of your fingers, but maybe sort of somewhere in the middle. You know, you're gonna be working the piece of meat or the piece of fish. So again, you want to grab sort of where the blade hits the handle, right? At the very end of the blade, where it hits the handle, that's where you wanna grab it, okay? Right there, right? That's where you wanna grab it, because that gives you the most control, because that's where, suppose if the knife is well balanced, that's the balancing point of the knife, okay? And that will feel the most comfortable. Again, none of this shit, all right? I don't want to see you do this, okay? No finger up at the front. All right. Bread knife, I don't really care, you're just kind of going through, but again, same thing. Practice the same knife hold. And a, you know, carving knife, again, same thing. Practice that. Okay, now, what is the safest way to cut? We're not doing this, okay, when we're cutting. We're not in China where we're just chopping all kinds of stuff and then throwing them in the wok. This isn't what we do. There is a time and a place for that, but this isn't one of them. Hold the knife correctly. Again, drop your finger and your thumb and wrap around. Now what we're going to be doing, the key thing I want you to remember when you're holding this and when you're doing this is your other hand, whether you're left-handed or right-handed. I'm right-handed, so I'm holding the knife in my right hand. If I'm left-handed, okay, this is my support. 100% of the time, your nails, you have nails and you have knuckles, right? Nails down, knuckles forward. And the knife goes against sort of your knuckles. Why? Because this, your left hand is how the knife is going to be guided as you're cutting. And if you make a mistake and you sort of do this, then you're just kind of slicing off a piece of your skin as opposed to slicing off a good chunk of your finger, okay? And I've never seen this happen, and I don't want to see this happen, but I can just imagine that it happens. It actually makes me nervous every time my wife holds a knife and she doesn't do it the way I ask her to do it. And I keep telling her, Jess, you keep holding it the wrong way. If this knife slips and it cuts off your fingers, you're driving yourself to the hospital because I told you so. Okay? Yes, I know that's mean and crass, but you have to, but tough love is how you're gonna get through this, right? Tough love is how people learn. Nails down, knuckles forward, and that's how the knife goes, okay? It goes against your knuckles, and that's how the knife is gonna be guided, right? And as you're cutting, you're moving your hand backwards. You're not pushing, you're not feeding the food through, you're actually moving your hand backwards slowly, right? All while maintaining the knife blade up against your knuckles, okay? That's how it goes. That way, once again, nails down, knuckles forward. Why? Because if you slice your hand off, two reasons. One, if you make a mistake and you go down and you're not paying attention, right? You're slicing off a piece of your skin. You're not slicing off, God forbid, the ends of your fingers, okay? They can't do anything, the hospital can't do anything with that. I mean, they may be able to if you get there in time, but you know, this, I've done this before actually with a mandolin, it grows back. Don't worry about it, right? It's just uncomfortable for a few weeks. Okay, nails down, knuckles forward, blade right up against your hand, right up against your knuckles, right? And you're gonna be you're gonna be moving your hand, you're gonna be cutting through, okay? All right, so that's the basics of it. I want you to practice this. I'm gonna demo with a carrot because I have carrots. We're gonna do a whole carrot episode on how to cut this, but I just wanna demo it for you here, and then we'll do another 10-15 minute video on cutting carrots, okay? So this, pretty big carrot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just cut it in half. I like working with pieces that are maybe what, 6 inches? That way I maintain control of it. And I'm not sort of, right? Going all the way, like I just want to maintain control, right? And unless you're cutting really long strands, it doesn't matter. So what we're gonna do is one, we're gonna cut off the end. So again, nails down, knuckles forward. Now, I can't get all nails and knuckles forward on this one, so I'm just gonna use one, but you know, use the best you can, and this is tough. Now, here's the problem. You see this? We're gonna do this on the carrot episode. So right now I'm just gonna go and I'm just gonna show you later. All right. Now we're stable, right? Nails down, knuckles forward. And you put the edge of the blade, right, the tip of the blade on the board, and you slice through. All at the same time while moving your finger backwards and guiding the knife backwards. Do you see this? I hope you can see this. Let me see if I can get a little closer. Okay, let's see if we can do this. Okay, nails down, well, it's this, in this case, because it's so small, it's one nail. Nail down, knuckle forward, right? Tip of the blade down. And again, remember, I said you're going to be using this part of the blade probably 90% of the time to cut. So we're going to do that. I'm just going to slice it through, right? And you're going to use your knuckle as your guide. If you see, I'm not moving the carrot at all. I'm not feeding it through. What I'm doing is I'm moving my finger backwards and I'm using that to be my guide, okay? So that's how you do it. That's how you cut anything through. And don't do what I just did, which is move stuff around with the sharp part of the blade. You're just, you know, you're kind of not damaging the blade, but you're working the blade when you shouldn't be working the blade. So, you know, move food around this way, pick it up this way with the other part of the blade. So, again, nail down, knuckle forward. And I promise you, you're gonna get faster at doing this when you do it. Now, here's the other thing you need to be careful of. When you do that, when you do a nails down, knuckles forward, what I want you to do is, I want you to tuck your thumb behind your fingers. So if this is my nail here, right? This is what I'm guiding with, right? I have my other finger back here. My thumb is towards the end or it's tucked inside, okay? And that way, you know, this one I can maybe use two, but I'll probably just use one. So I'm using my middle finger to sort of stabilize the carrot. I'm using my forefinger to stabilize it from one side. I'm using my thumb to stabilize it from the back. Different vegetables, different fruits or what have you, when you cut through them, you're just gonna have to use your judgment. But always this knife, this thumb, if you're not careful, right, if it's out here somewhere, there's risk that you cut through it. So tuck it. Tuck your thumb behind the food, right? And that way you're maintaining things as safe as possible, right? See that? So, especially when you get towards the end, this is where it's gonna get really critical, right? Because if your thumb's out here, which you can't see, if your thumb's out here, you're gonna cut it. If your thumb is behind the food and you're maintaining the knife blade against your knuckle, then you're not gonna cut through, right? You need to protect your fingers. All right, cool, that's it. Protect your fingers. You're using this part of the knife. See, I'm already developing more of a callus. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe, maybe not. Right there. See that? So, thumb, forefinger, hold them down, drop, grab, right? This is how you're holding it. And then tip down, nails down, knuckles forward, thumb hidden, tip of the blade down, and you're basically doing this cut, okay? It's kind of a chiffonade, if you may, right? Now, when I'm getting towards the end, this is where I have to be really careful about my thumb. Just make sure it's well protected and it's hidden in the back, okay? It's gonna take practice. It took me a long time to wire my brain to think this way and to practice this way. Now, every time I hold a piece of fruit or vegetable and I'm cutting through it, I am practicing. Because the one day you don't practice and you're not careful and the kids are running around and the dog's barking and the World Cup's on TV, I don't want to say this, but you are at risk of bleeding. You are at risk of cutting yourself. So practice. And if you have any questions, let me know. And that's it. I hope this was quick. We're gonna do more of these. I'm gonna do a quick one with carrots because I have carrots out here. So I'll just do a quick 5-minute episode on carrots. And then we'll do onions and maybe a pepper, and we're just gonna kind of go through it. All right? Have a great day. I hope your favorite team wins, and let's go from there. Bye.